The darkness of night had already engulfed the quiet community of Kiara in Birni Gubi local government area when terror struck. 7 residents lost their lives Wednesday night as more than 100 suspected terrorists descended upon the town in a coordinated midnight assault. This latest attack represents yet another grim chapter in Sokoto State's ongoing struggle against armed groups that have transformed once peaceful communities into battlegrounds. The attackers had meticulously planned their operation, surrounding Kiara from all sides and blocking major entry and exit routes before launching their violent assault. This wasn't a random act of violence, but a calculated siege designed to trap residents and maximize casualties. For several hours, the gunmen moved freely within the town, their presence unchallenged as they carried out their deadly mission under the cover of darkness. The attack on Kiara comes at a particularly complex time for Sokoto State, which has witnessed an escalation of violence from multiple armed groups operating across its territory. Birni Gobi and other parts of eastern Sokoto have seen repeated attacks in recent months, with residents lamenting the increasing frequency of killings, abductions, and destruction of property. The region has become a convergence point for various militant organizations, each with their own agendas, but united in their capacity to spread terror among civilian populations. To understand the gravity of this latest tragedy, we need to examine the broader security landscape of northwestern Nigeria. The region has become increasingly volatile, with armed groups ranging from bandits to internationally linked terrorist organizations establishing footholds in remote areas. If you are finding this coverage important, please like this video and subscribe for more in-depth analysis of critical security issues affecting Africa. The timing of the Kiara attack is particularly significant, occurring just weeks after the United States conducted controversial airstrikes in Sokoto State on December 25, 2025. Those strikes, which targeted what American officials described as ISIS positions, highlighted the international dimension of the security crisis facing the region. The presence of groups like the Islamic State Sahel Province and the lesser-known Lakurawa organization has transformed Sokoto from a relatively peaceful state into a front line in the global war on terror. What makes the situation in Sokoto particularly challenging is the diverse nature of the threats facing communities. Unlike regions dealing with a single insurgent group, Sokoto residents must navigate a complex web of armed actors. There are traditional bandit groups primarily motivated by economic gain through kidnapping and cattle rustling. Then there are ideologically driven terrorist organizations seeking to establish Islamic governance structures. The lines between these groups often blur, with tactical alliances forming and dissolving based on immediate needs and opportunities. The human cost of this insecurity cannot be overstated. Beyond the 7 lives lost in Kiara, thousands of families across Sokoto have been displaced from their homes. Farmers can no longer tend their fields, children cannot attend school, and economic activity has ground to a halt in many areas. The psychological trauma inflicted on survivors create wounds that may never fully heal, particularly for children who witness such violence at formative ages. Local authorities face an almost impossible task in securing vast territories with limited resources. The terrain itself favors the insurgents. Dense forests provide perfect hideouts, while porous borders with Niger Republic allow armed groups to move freely between countries. When security forces conduct operations in one area, the militants simply relocate to another, creating an endless game of cat and mouse that exhausts resources and morale. The international community's involvement, exemplified by the recent U.S. airstrikes, adds another layer of complexity to an already complicated situation. While such interventions may temporarily disrupt terrorist operations, they also risk civilian casualties and can generate resentment among local populations who feel caught between government forces, foreign military action, and insurgent groups. The debris from American munitions found in civilian areas after the December strikes serves as a stark reminder of how military solutions alone cannot resolve this crisis. For those watching this coverage, please remember to subscribe and hit the notification bell to stay informed about developments in this ongoing crisis. Understanding these security challenges is crucial for anyone interested in West African affairs. The attack on Kiara also reveals the limitations of current counter-terrorism strategies. Despite increased military deployments and international cooperation, armed groups continue to operate with relative impunity in many areas. This suggests that purely military approaches must be complemented by efforts to address underlying grievances that make communities vulnerable to extremist recruitment. Poverty, unemployment, lack of education, and weak governance create conditions where armed groups can thrive. Community resilience in the face of such adversity remains remarkable. Despite the constant threat of violence, residents of affected areas continue to support each other, share resources, and maintain hope for a return to peace. Traditional leaders and religious authorities work tirelessly to maintain social cohesion and prevent communities from fragmenting along ethnic or religious lines. Their efforts, though often overlooked in media coverage, represent the best hope for long-term stability in the region. The response from state and federal authorities to the Kiara attack will be closely watched. Past patterns suggest promises of increased military deployments and investigations, but residents have grown skeptical after years of attacks with little accountability. What communities need is not just reactive responses to attacks, but proactive measures to prevent them from occurring in the first place. This requires intelligence gathering, community engagement, and addressing the root causes that allow armed groups to recruit and operate. As night falls across Sokoto State tonight, residents in vulnerable communities will once again face the terror of potential attack. The 7 lives lost in Kiara join a growing list of victims in Nigeria's seemingly endless security crisis. Their deaths demand more than condolences. They require concrete action to ensure that no more communities suffer the fate that befell Kiara on that terrible Wednesday night. The international community must also grapple with its role in addressing this crisis. While military assistance and intelligence sharing have their place, sustainable peace will require investments in development, education, and governance reforms. The people of Sokoto and surrounding states deserve to live without fear, to farm their lands in peace, and to raise their children with hope for the future rather than trauma from the past. Until comprehensive solutions are implemented, communities like Kiara remain vulnerable to the next midnight attack, the next group of gunmen who emerge from the darkness to shatter lives and destroy families. The 7 residents killed in this latest assault deserve to be more than statistics. They should be the catalyst for meaningful change that finally brings lasting peace to northwestern Nigeria.